Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nathdwara, Tirupati, Srirangam, Kanchi, Udupi, Pandharpur, Dwaraka, Dakor, Vrindavan. Any others? Yadgiri Gota, yeah? No, so that was a local one. I guess the Dakor one was a local one also. Erkot, yeah, but that's not, we're talking about holy places. Erkot's not counted among that. That was like a Shravan Kirtan camp, you know. Something like that. So, I don't have that much personal experience here in Guruvayur. As in, actually all those places that I mentioned, I visited previously and spent some time, so I had some, previous to the yatra, so I had some prior knowledge and experience and feeling for all these places. But I came only once here previously, that was about 20 years ago, and I wasn't allowed in the temple, so I didn't stay very long. So to avoid the same thing happening again this time, then a few days ago I went to Calicut. Is it? It's in Calicut in English. And there's a system that you visit the Arya, what's it called? Arya Samaj. It came in my mind, Arya Vaidya Sala. Oh, that's not quite right. Arya Samaj, who don't believe in deity worship, and they conduct a ceremony for you, a yajna, which fortunately I had an excuse not to participate in. And then you're a confirmed Hindu, and you can enter the temple. So, after 36 years of chanting Hare Krishna, by the grace of the Arya Samaj, I'm now a Hindu, officially. Something to clap about? Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmilam Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchita. This is our aim. To be free of all mundane designations and fully absorbed in Krishna, serving Krishna, who is the master of the senses, via the senses. So anyway, as I don't have much experience of this place, then I will base my talk on information which I have taken from a book called Sri Krishna, the Lord of Guruvayur by K.R. Vaidyanathan. So this holy place, Guruvayur, is known very well in Kerala, somewhat in Tamil Nadu, and not much further away than these places. But as we can see by going there, it's an important holy place. So many people regularly throughout the year, people are coming. At the time of publishing this book, it was stated that this first edition, 1974. So it stated that this was, in terms of income, was number 2 temple in India. I didn't mention number 1, which was obviously Tirupati. And you can see how the value of money has changed. The income for the temple here, being number 2 in India in terms of income, was something 2 lakhs and something. So now I believe the number 1 income is at Sabarimalai, which is also in Kerala, in South Kerala. And number 2, I've heard, is at Shirdi. So you can see how the culture is changing. Previously the top holy places were of Vishnu, Krishna, and now there's for Ayappa and some Muslim fakir. So coming to these holy places, we ourselves receive inspiration and pray for the blessings of the presiding deities. But by coming to these places, it's also part of our mission to preach who is actually the proper object of worship. Krishna, he is to be worshipped. So, about this deity and temple, according to this book, the description is from the Guru Pavanapura Mahatmya from the Narada Purana. Now, it begins with Maharaj Janamejai, the son of Parikshit Maharaj, which as described in Mahabharata and in Srimad Bhagavatam, he performed what was called a Sarpa Yagya, in which there was a huge fire and all the snakes from all over the universe were pulled into that fire by mystic power. Because Janamejai, because his father had been killed by the Takshak, the snake bird, so in revenge, Janamejai wanted to kill all the snakes in the universe. So he eventually desisted. He didn't continue to kill. Many snakes were killed, but then he was requested to desist by who? By Brahma? I can't remember who. Can anyone remember? Brahma, yeah. So, among the remaining snakes, one or some of them cursed him to become afflicted with leprosy. So this manifested itself on the day of his marriage to, as soon as he touched his bride, he became leprotic. And as might be expected with a disease that has been contracted due to a curse, no medical help was of any avail. So he was so distressed that he was ready to end his life by suicide. When Dattatreya, the famous rishi, appeared before him and advised Maharaj Janamejai to propitiate Guruvayur, the deity, here. Propitiate means to worship with the idea of satisfying him, to get a benediction from him, to get a boon from him. Useful, this one word for many things. So, then Dattatreya explained that this deity is exactly in the image of Narayan. This is exactly what Narayan looks like. And Narayan himself used to worship this deity. At the beginning of the Padma Kalpa, Bhagavan Narayan gave himself in the form of this deity to Brahma, and by the grace of this deity, Brahma was able to carry out his service of creation. At the beginning of the Varaha Kalpa, Sutapa and Prishni, husband and wife, they had no children. They prayed to Brahma so that they could get a son. So Brahma gave them this deity and told them to worship this deity, and that by doing so their wish would be fulfilled. You may remember from Srimad Bhagavatam that they prayed to Vishnu to get a son just like him. But of course there's no one just like him, so he personally came as their son. In their eagerness they asked him 3 times, and as a result the Lord appeared as their son 3 times. And he also said that they would worship this himself as this deity in all of those births. So Prishni gave birth to a son who is known as Prishni Garbha, Vishnu Bhagavan. Later Sutapa and Vrishni came as Kashyap and Aditi, they worshipped the same deity, and Bhagavan advented as Vamanadev as their son. Now, here's a little bit surprising bit, that they came again as Vasudeva and Devaki. And the Rishi Dhaumya, who you know from Mahabharata as the Vaishnava priest of the Pandavas, he gave them the deity of Guruvayur, although he wasn't known by that name at that time. And Krishna was born to them. When Krishna moved to Dwaraka, then he built a temple in which he himself installed this deity, and he worshipped that deity after the passing of his parents. He worshipped this deity. So when the time came for Krishna to leave this world, he informed Uddhava of his imminent departure. So Uddhava became distressed because of the imminent separation from Krishna. And he also thought, what a horrible situation that Kali Yuga is coming in and Krishna is going, so it's going to be a very bad time. So Krishna said that, no, I'll remain in this world as in this form, this deity form, and that the devotees would be blessed by him in this form in Kali Yuga, and they would be free from the bad effects of Kali Yuga. So Krishna told Uddhava that very soon Dwaraka would be inundated by the sea. So he told Uddhava to take good care of this image during that time, and that he, Uddhava, should find a place of equal sanctity to Dwaraka. He should find such a holy place by taking guidance from Brihaspati, who's also the guru of Uddhava and the guru of all the demigods. And at that place, the deity should be installed. So Brihaspati, after the inundation of Dwarka, Brihaspati arrived at Dwarka accompanied by Vayu, the god of wind, who was, of course, being one of the demigods, one of the disciples of Brihaspati. And Varuna had taken charge of the deity. In other words, the deity was submerged in the sea. But at the order of Brihaspati, who's also his guru, Varuna withdrew and Vayu took the deity and went off with Brihaspati looking for a suitable place to install this deity. So they traveled widely throughout Bharata, but they didn't find any place which they thought was just suitable. So when they were just going through that gap in the hills at Palagat, which is still there, the train line goes through there. So that's really the entrance to Kerala. And at that spot they were met by Parashuram, who had created Kerala actually. This whole area, this whole area of Kerala is created by the throwing of the axe of Parashuram. Of course, don't tell our geologists this. We have transcendental geology. How did this landmass here come? Parashuram threw his axe and whatever was underneath came up, that's all. And how did all these mountains get here? Well, they were flying around and Indra cut off their wings. Thanks to modern education, people don't believe these things. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, who saved us from modern education. Among the innumerable gifts he's given us, one of them is that he saved us from the effects of all the nonsense that we're taught in schools. Anyway, Parashuram, he met Brihaspati and Vayu, and Parashuram told them that he was just he himself was setting out for Dwarka to try to find the very deity which had been worshipped there by Krishna, to bring that deity to Kerala. So there was a reason why Parashuram particularly wanted to bring that deity here, because many people in this area were suffering from rheumatism. Doctor knows. The doctor knows the Tamil word, which seems to be particularly common in this area, maybe because of the high rainfall and humid climate. Is that a factor? Your modern medicine wouldn't tell you that, but according to Ayurveda, that's a likely factor. In hot, dry climates, you don't get rheumatism. Only in these damp climates, it's more common. Humid climate. And actually this Arya Vaidya Sala, which is based here, I believe in near to Thrissur, isn't it? Kotakal? Yeah, Kotakal, just near to Thrissur, close to here. That they're famous. One of their specialty is treating Vata disorders, especially rheumatism. So many people in this area were suffering from rheumatism and severe pain. So they somehow or other they journey, because if you have rheumatism in your legs, it's difficult to move. But somehow or other they came to Parashuram's Mulasthanam, his headquarters at Thrissur, and they begged him to give us some means of relief from this pain that we are suffering. At that time, Narada just happened to pass by, and he advised Parashuram to bring the deity of Sri Krishna, who had been worshipped by Krishna in Dwarka, and to install that deity in the most sacred place in Kerala. And by worshipping that deity, Narada said, people would be relieved of the distress of rheumatism. So Parashuram was on his way to Dwarka to find that deity, but Guru and Vayu, that means Brihaspati and Vayu, they were just bringing that deity. Interestingly, Parashuram was going through the Ghat at Palakkad. He didn't, until recently, to go directly up the west coast was not possible. That's transcendental geography now. When Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he came from Bombay to Udupi, he came by steamer, by ship. And it used to be that until fairly recently, the most common method of travel from Bombay to Goa was also by ship. Is that not? Where's our Goa devotees? Used to be. Anyway, these are all related points. So now Parashuram took Guru and Vayu around looking for the most sacred spot in Kerala. And they eventually came to a beautiful area with a very beautiful lake. Now that lake is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's still existing at the I guess you could say that it's like actually at the front of the temple. But the description in the Srimad Bhagavatam is of a vast lake. So the present tank is much smaller. But anyway, that lake is known as Rudra Tirtham. And that was the place where Lord Shiva was performing austerities. And it's the very spot where Lord Shiva taught the Prachetas, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Lord Shiva, with Parvati, welcomed Parashuram, Brihaspati and Vayu. So Lord Shiva said that, I'm residing here now, but this place is actually meant for Narayana, so I will leave here and you can install the deity here. And Lord Shiva said that this deity will be known as Guruvayur, because those who are to install it are Guru, Brihaspati, and Vayu. So Lord Shiva left for another place close by, just half a kilometer from the temple of Guruvayur. And it's stated that the worship of Guruvayur is not complete unless one also worships Lord Shiva in that temple. So Guru and Vayu, to build the temple, they brought Vishvakarma, the architect and engineer of the demigods. And the deity is known as Guruvayur Appan. Appan means just like Natha or the Lord. So this is clearly a very ancient and important holy place. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he visited this area. But, and all the major temples in South India are mentioned as being visited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But this temple, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, all those temples, all the important temples of South India, or many of them are mentioned. This one is not mentioned. In this area, Kanyakumari, that's just south of Kerala, and then Kanyakumari is mentioned as being visited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the temple of Janardana at Varkala, which is in the south of Kerala, also that's mentioned as being visited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the Adi Keshav temple is in Kerala, is also mentioned. Then next in chronological order is mentioned that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Sringeri. And then after that, Udupi. So, and actually the Adi Keshav temple is not mentioned in that particular section. So, it's not, as Krishnadas Kaviraj himself writes, he's not put everything in exact chronological order. Otherwise, presumably, coming from this side, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have visited Udupi before Sringeri and not after. But that is not mentioned doesn't mean he didn't visit here. Because Krishnadas Kaviraj states that he didn't mention all the temples. And according to the history given in this book, there's in recent times, that means in the last few hundred years, in Indian history, recent means in the last few hundred years, this temple was not known, or there's no recent record of it until the late 15th century, which would be at least more than 50 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's visit to this area. So it seems that at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this temple, it was not so prominent as it later became. The first known, at the present time, the first mention of this temple is from the late 16th century, according to the Gregorian calculation, or Christian or whatever. And that came with the Narayaniyam, which I'll speak about a little later, which is a work addressed to Guruvayur Appan. And then after that, many devotees composed prayers and for this deity, and the temple, its prominence again became manifested. The deity is, although most deities in this area are of black granite, this deity is from a very unusual stone. dark blue stone. And this deity is said to be exactly the form of Narayana as he revealed himself to Vasudeva and Devaki as he was born to them, Krishna, at the time of his birth, which is a little boy but with 4 hands. So 4 hands with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, the symbols of Vishnu. So in Kerala, he is also known as, this deity is also referred to as Ummi Krishna, which means Bala Krishna, young baby. And you can see the temple, especially those of you coming from Tamil Nadu, you might wonder if it's a temple at all. Because coming from Tamil Nadu, if you know that you're going to go to visit a famous temple, you expect to see some huge stone building. Probably Tamil Nadu has the biggest temples in the world. I mean, there's the Angkor Wat in Kampuchea, but apart from that, the big so many big temples in Tamil Nadu. Or if you're coming from North India, you expect to see some temple looking like a marble palace. But the design here is quite unique. Simple wooden design. Simple but very tasteful and aesthetic, no doubt. So this is typical Kerala style. It's like I say, it's just like a home, isn't it? So this is Krishna's home, young boy Krishna. That same concept is there in the Havelis of the Vallabh Sampradaya. The house, it's not so much a big palace, but a nice family home where everyone, they worship Krishna, but it's more like looking after their beloved boy. It creates a different mood to the massive opulent temples. The massive opulent temples, they create a mood of great reverence. But these small homely temples create a mood of intimacy. That just like someone may invite you into his home and you feel very comfortable and relaxed, like this. But that this is a temple and not just some ordinary house is quite clear from the atmosphere, even before we enter. And there are all kinds of activities centered on Krishna going on in this temple throughout the day, from 3 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. Where in our ISKCON temples we do from about 4:30 until about 9 o'clock. But here they have even longer hours. Just like in Puri, they have maybe the longest hours. That Krishna's so busy, they're so busy feeding Krishna all the time, he hardly has any time to sleep. Even at midnight, they're make sure he doesn't go hungry. But actually in the Havelis of the Vallabh Sampradaya, they also feed very nicely Krishna. But they think he's a little boy, so he needs to sleep a lot. So he sleeps a lot. The darshans are not very long and then closed again. Of course, we all know what Krishna does when he's sleeping. When Mother Yashoda thinks he's sleeping, but he jumps out the window and runs off to play with the gopis. So anyway, here at 3 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, with Krishna has a good rest in the afternoon also. And from time to time the darshan is closed so that Krishna can eat. There are all kinds of activities going on all the time. So, I mean, even if there's nothing else, there's so many pilgrims coming all the time. So, when many people come with a devotional mood, that automatically creates a mood like a festival. So, this place is also known as Bhu Vaikuntha. It's the atmosphere as Vaikuntha is reproduced here on earth. So, Most of the pilgrims come from Kerala, and as you may have noted, it's a very devotional but very orderly mood also. It's not like there's no pushing and shoving, not like that. Krishnadas? Where's Krishnadas? I'd asked him yesterday to keep someone at the gate to stop vehicles coming in. Yeah. During the classes. So people come, mostly people come for some material object that they wish to be fulfilled. The usual kind of thing, to pass their exams, to get free from debts, to get cured from disease. And one of the major activities here is marriages. Many people, especially from all over Kerala, they arrange marriages here. So, on many days, there's more than 100 marriages in one day. And there's a whole puja schedule, different offerings, different artis, different items of bhog. The puja schedule, as it's running on now, was introduced by Shankaracharya. He remained here for 41 days to establish the puja. So, I was talking about the pilgrims. One thing you'll notice also, this is very good. There's only traditional dress is allowed in the temple. No shorts, no lungis, no Muslim style lungis, no shirts. Ladies have to be in saris. So that's very good. It makes a better atmosphere. People coming in jeans and shorts and t-shirts. It creates a different atmosphere. That's why at these yatras that we have, that's one rule, that everyone coming, we should be dressed suitable for Vaishnavas. So at the temple, I was saying there's so many offerings and pujas. So this is one of those temples which is famous also for prasadam, and there are so many different special items. And every day hundreds of people have served a full meal of prasadam, which see, the people coming, it's not that they're poor people who are just coming to fill their belly. There are people who can very easily afford to go to some restaurant. They'll wait in line for 2-3 hours to take prasadam, because they know the value of prasadam. So another prominent feature of this temple is its elephants. That's one of the features of a temple. If it's opulent, it should have many elephants. So this is maybe the only temple in India that keeps many elephants. There are many temples that still keep 1 or 2 just for ceremonial functions. But at this temple there are about 60. They're donated by different devotees. So if you want to donate an elephant, you can do at this temple. They'll accept. You can also donate cows. They have a Goshala also. That's very important, especially for temples of Krishna, because Krishna needs plenty of milk products. If you don't give plenty of milk and yogurt and butter to Krishna, he'll run away and steal it from somewhere else. So you have to make sure he gets plenty of the best. So the elephant processions are regular here. Sometimes they have an elephant race. And there's even a life-size statue of the famous elephant called Keshava, who was a great devotee. He knew that he was carrying the Lord. He wasn't just a dumb elephant. And he wouldn't let any other elephant carry the Lord. If they tried to give the Lord to any other elephant, he'd attack the elephant and chase him away. And usually people, so people can come on top of the elephant has to come down, kneel down, and then people climb up his trunk. But he would only allow the priest carrying the deity to do that. Everyone else had to wait for him to stand up, and they'd have to climb up his back legs. He wouldn't allow anyone else. Only the priest carrying the deity could come like that. So there are many stories of the elephants and the different devotees. Very common here also is the Tulabharam. This, this where you sit on a scale, and then whatever your weight is, you have to give that much of whatever it is. Maybe you give some. Well, the best thing to give, I guess, is gold, but mostly people give something like sugar or rice. One man who had started off without any money, but had become very rich by selling mixies, he ascribed his success to Guruvayur, and he did the Tulabharam with mixies. Mixie in standard English for the benefit of non-Indians. What is the word? I don't even know the word. It's electric mixer, I guess it's.
Blender.
Electric mixer, and grinder is something else, actually. Blender. Okay. So even some non-Hindus, actually it seems that in this area many, as you see in Kerala, there are many Christians and Muslims, and many of them also have faith in the deity. Just as we were driving here from Calicut, we stopped to get some sugarcane juice. So the young boy selling it, I mean, you couldn't tell, he was in jeans and everything, he was a Muslim. So Gokul Chandra Prabhu told me, he said, "Oh, you're going to Guruvayur?" He also obviously had a feeling for Guruvayur. So sometimes the non-Hindus, they also do this Tulabharam. That means that they make some vow that you do this for me, you solve my financial problem, whatever, and then or you cure me from this disease, they make a kind of contract with the deity. And then I will give my own body weight in whatever they specify to be. So if non-Hindus do that, they bring the whole scale outside because they don't allow them in the temple. So this is particularly prominent. I mean, you'll find in many temples, but particularly here, it's like all the time. So according to this book, it's going on. So another prominent feature of this temple is the Krishna Natam, the dance drama of Krishna Lila, which is performed after the temple is closed at night. So if you want, you can go and see that at night, late. It's a unique style. Much could be said about that, but really it's this kind of thing, you have to really be present and experience it. So everything is well organized by the Guruvayur Deva Swam, is the name of the organizing agency, which is under the Kerala state government, but they seem to be doing a better job than the state-managed bodies in other states, especially in Tamil Nadu. It's pitiful how poorly administered are the temples. It's pitiful, it's disgraceful, it's heart-rending to see how the governments deliberately neglect the temples, they just take the money out, in Tamil Nadu especially. But at least, everything is well organized, clean, so that's a credit for the organizing body. Now, one point which must be mentioned is the Narayaniyam, which is a summary of the Bhagavatam, especially the Krishna Leela, in 1036 Sanskrit shlokas. So this was compiled toward the end, or composed toward the end of the 16th century. That means a little over 400 years ago, by one Bhattatiri, his name, who was a young Brahmin boy who was profligate, which means badly behaved, especially with young girls. At some distance, he didn't live here, at some distance from here. But one Brahmana once rebuked him. Why you come from a good family, and why are you misbehaving in this way? So that young boy, then he came to his senses, and he became a disciple of that Brahmana. And in a short time he studied well, and he became a very, very good scholar, and wrote many works several works in Sanskrit. As his guru was getting older, his guru was suffering from rheumatism. So this Bhatta Til or Tiri, or however you pronounce it, he took the rheumatism from his guru. There seems to be some system that we find that also with Yadu and Puru, the transference of old age. So anyway, now we have the young Bhattatiri suffering severely from rheumatic pain. So he came to Guruvayur for praying to be released from this pain. So it's like a retelling of the Bhagavad, the pastimes of Krishna, but instead of describing about Krishna, it's addressed to Krishna. Instead of saying Krishna did this and Krishna did that, it says you did this and you did that. And this was composed, as it was being composed, he was composing in front of the deity and reciting as he was composing. And at the end of every section, in the beginning sections, he's saying, please relieve me from this pain, which, apart from his own personal pain, anyone can recite that, because we're all suffering from the pain of material existence. But as he goes on in his recitation, he doesn't ask for relief from pain. It seems that he's becoming absorbed in the bliss of glorifying the Lord, and coming to a platform beyond simply asking for relief of pain. So Krishna was also helping him compose this. Of course, matasmriti jnanam apohanam cha. Whatever ability anyone has is only coming from Krishna. So this Bhattatiri, he was just composing one verse describing Rama, because he was describing the different avatars also. So he just got the verse, but there was just one syllable missing. But he hadn't inserted the name, who was the subject of the verse, Rama. But to make the chanda or the meter fit, you need to be one syllable, but Rama is two syllables. So the deity Guruvayur, he indicated to Bhattatiri, and then he understood what to do. He inserted the word te, which means you, unto you. But then later, when the poet was describing how Rama had banished Sita, he said, the poet Bhattatiri said, I can't understand how you could do such a thing. And then the deity said, well, that wasn't me, that was Rama. So in one case he said, te, unto you, Rama, but then You see, you can never trust Krishna. Tricky character. So this Narayaniyam is traditionally very famous, especially in Kerala. And it was actually famous throughout India. It's also quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There are many works which are summaries of the Bhagavatam, but this is particularly famous. So this is clearly a place of bhakti, which is why we have come here. We can learn much from coming here. How to organize our temples in a manner that will help people to develop their natural feelings for Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada took his disciples to Tirupati, he told the devotees that you see how they're organizing. We can learn from this how to manage a temple. So we can feel, we can ourselves get much inspiration from coming here. There's another important point. This place is also famous for the Sankirtan of the Mahamantra. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. They chant it in that order. And of course we chant it, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So which one is right? They're both right. You can't say chanting Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare is wrong. Although some people tell us that chanting Hare Krishna is wrong, saying Hare Krishna first is wrong, but they're both right. So if Kirtan of the Mahamantra is performed here, definitely the local people will appreciate that very much. And in fact we find especially in these holy places when we perform Sankirtan, that the local people very much appreciate, because they're already very pious. They already have a natural tendency of bhakti toward Krishna. But they usually don't have much idea of pure devotion to Krishna. Even if that was taught in their sampradaya, it's mostly become theoretical or lost. Here we're talking about sampradayas, but here in this area, Kerala, the most prominent and influential acharya has been Shankara. So the influence of impersonalism is very strong. So people here, bhakti is there, but mixed up with some strange ideas. So worshipping the Lord for material benefit and mixed up with impersonalistic ideas. So apart from taking inspiration in these holy places, we have much to contribute also. As we become inspired by the bhakti of the local inhabitants and the visiting pilgrims, they may also become inspired by our Harinam Sankirtanam. But we also have to contribute the teachings of pure devotion. By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we can safely say that our position in bhakti, or what we've been given, our understanding of bhakti, is significantly better than that which is coming just in the traditional paramparas in pretty much all of India. The understanding that we are to give ourselves to Krishna for His pleasure and not simply come to Him because we have some problem that we want solved. This is Srila Prabhupada's contribution to the religious life of India particularly. So we should distribute Srila Prabhupada's books in the holy places, in the unholy places, everywhere. By distributing these books, the unholy places become holy. And the holy places also become holy. Bhavadvidha bhagavatas tirtha bhuta swayam prabho tirtani tirtha kurvanti tirtani svantas tena gatabrita. Yudhishthira Maharaj said to Vidura, who had just come back from Tirtha Yatra, from visiting holy places, that saints of your caliber, they purify the holy places and they make the holy places into holy places. Because the devotees always carry Krishna in their heart. So Srila Prabhupada's books are simply full of Krishna. And the proper understanding of how we are to serve Krishna. So distributing these books will make the holy places holy. If people in the holy places can understand that we should come here not to get some material benefit from Krishna, but to surrender to Him in pure devotion, that will be our good service to Srila Prabhupada coming to these holy places. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Guruvayur